Just 3 nights ago, this was a pile of shattered glass. It was a crime scene. Detectives were combing through evidence. The audio level at the sound mixer cannot be any greater than 102 decibels. That's about the same volume as this lawnmower. Multiple crews on the scene investigating exactly how this 12-year-old girl died. Who tonight is not singing I Like It, I Love It? I think everybody is here on Broadway. Austin Rick, whose stage name was Austin Cody, claims Webster forced him to have oral sex, groped, and drugged him. With the help of big-time publicist Kurt Webster, Austin Rick believed he could make a name for himself in the music business. Rick says in 2008, Webster got him great gigs and sponsorships.
There would be hardcore pornography on the TV, and he would say, come over here next to me and sit on my lap, little guy, and watch this with me. Isn't this hot?
Tonight, we talked to former employees of Webster who say they too were asked to watch pornography with him. For Rick, that's how he said it started. He claims over the course of a year, things got progressively worse. He says Webster often invited him and others into his hot tub.
Kurt is reaching under my bathing suit leg to my genitals and like massaging my genitals, all while smiling at me and winking at me. Like it's a romantic connection in his head or something.
Rick says the worst incident was the last. He claims at a holiday party, after having 2 drinks, he blacked out. Rick says he remembers waking up in Webster's bed to Webster kissing his lips and neck.
It was like a fantasy that he was living out at my expense.
A former employee told us tonight he believes he was drugged by Webster. He claims he blacked out after having 1 drink with Webster at CMA Fest in 2010 and had no choice but to stay over at his house. Webster is denying allegations made by Rick today. A statement says, as a single adult, Mr. Webster has had multiple relationships over the course of his professional life, all of which have been consensual. This includes a brief relationship with Mr. Rick. It saddens Mr. Webster that 9 years later, after Mr. Rick's music career has been stagnant, Mr. Rick has taken the opportunistic approach of mischaracterizing that relationship and posting untrue allegations. Rick says Webster has tried keeping contact with him. He sent us these text messages from an exchange he says he had with Webster this past summer. Rick said he texted Webster that he ruined part of his life. Webster apparently responded, "Sorry you feel that way."
That's what I need. I need a boat.
She couldn't get to me, and I couldn't get to her.
It's up past my knees.
Janice Smith says it's been this way for the past 3 days. She lives in Lewisburg on Old Farmington Road, and this is where she'll be.
I just wished it'd stop.
For a while. The water hasn't gotten high enough to get inside. Still, she and her neighbors worry.
Last night it was getting pretty close to the electrical box on the pole, and so that's the only thing I'm worried about. And setting fire somewhere or shorting out.
All of the cars are parked over here, about 100 yards from where everybody lives. People have been having to wade through the water to get to their cars. Not anymore. Fortunately, a family member brought over some help. Transportation is taken care of. It's not exactly what Doug Schleffler was envisioning as his first canoe ride of the season.
We used to go canoeing a lot and didn't think I'd have to come over and use it this early this year.
But he is happy to come in handy.
Yeah, keep them from getting their feet wet.
And of course, humor helps.
I just have to do what I have to do. I have to laugh at it, really. You know, because like you said, I'm on a little island over here.
In Marshall County, Liz Loheis, Channel 4 News. Boys being boys. It's a phrase counsel for the 12-year-old boys say they are sick of hearing.
Look at the definition of what rape really is.
They say what happened to the boy is unthinkable, and what happened after might be even worse. Attorney Buren Ledbetter says more than a dozen adults knew what was happening in that locker room, and they did nothing.
It's hard to find somebody that's on a board somewhere that doesn't have a child or a grandchild or a niece or nephew in one of these schools. So it makes it hard to confront.
The lawsuit also says a parent and teacher at another school threatened the victim's brother.
There's a culture of protecting, I would say, reputation.
The adults still all have jobs. Brentwood police say they aren't investigating any of them. 2 of the suspects were expelled from Brentwood Academy. 2 others are at different schools.
2 of those students are now in somebody else's locker room. And they didn't give them any notice.
DCS says it has opened a new investigation. Ledbetter says the boy told DCS his story 3 times in 2 years and told Brentwood police twice.
I've lost some confidence as a new resident of Tennessee in the effectiveness of DCS and the police department.
Is there a culture of cover-up at Brentwood Academy?
It took a year to find a lawyer that would take this case. I wouldn't say that's community cover-up, but it borders on indifference.
Attorneys are also considering suing the parents of the 4 boys mentioned in the lawsuit. And they say another potential victim of the boys has come forward. They can't say much else.